The Detroit Tigers bring out the brooms in Cleveland. Plus, is the AL Central Division locked down by the Tigers? All this plus much more next on Austin's Academy of Sports. What a chaotic way to start the month of July for the best team in the MLB, the Detroit Tigers. I mean, Sunday Night Baseball in prime time, Tarik Skubal and the Tigers mowing down the AL Central rival Minnesota Twins on Sunday Night Baseball. The whole world watching, and they delivered, and so did Tarik Skubal, hammering his point down to start the All-Star game if he so chooses to in the next few weeks. But during that All-Star game, and the Tigers, they just mowed down the Twins. 3-0 win. And they earned a series win against the Central's rival, Minnesota Twins. And then they start off the month of July going to the nation's capital after Sunday Night Baseball on a getaway day, spending the off day on Monday, touring, sightseeing, Washington, D.C., and then getting rained out again on Tuesday. And that's just the theme of Tigers baseball so far. It's just they can't elude the rain. The rain follows them wherever they go. I'm pretty sure if they went out to the West Coast or down to Florida, they'd get rained on, and it's just hard to watch, when they have the scheduled off day, and then you're so anxious to watch them the next day on the following Tuesday in the nation's capital, and you can't even do that because of Mother Nature. But we move on. They played a doubleheader on Wednesday in which they split with the Washington Nationals. Game 1 was phenomenal for the Tigers. It was a masterpiece to watch. Final score being 11-2. And that first inning, man, their bats were booming all over Nationals Park. I mean, 2 3-run homers in the first inning. One by Riley Green and one by Jake Rogers to make it 6-0 right off the bat. And this was off of Williams, who basically couldn't get out of that inning. I mean, he did, but 6 runs, that's hard to give up when you're coming into a series against one of the best teams, if not the best team in Major League Baseball, just giving up 2 3-run bombs. And they weren't cheapies either. Green's was 380 feet to right field, and Rogers was 387 feet to right center field. So they were moonshots off the bat, and that was more than enough runs to give for the Tigers, and they weren't done there. Obviously, 11 runs in the game. Green followed it up with another home run later on in the game in the 4th inning off of a Sweeney sacrifice fly in the 3rd inning, who was sent down earlier. We'll talk about it a little bit more in the show. Sweeney was sent down earlier to Toledo, kind of to fix, I don't know the exact what he was fixing, but the batting mechanics were off in the last few weeks of June, and he got sent down to Toledo. But with the injury to Kerry Carpenter, that's why you have depth. If you're Scott Harris and A.J. Hinch and the Detroit Tigers, you needed to call Sweeney back up, and he's been delivering, which we will talk about a little bit more in the show. But Torkelson got in on the action as well, who, by the way, is making a bid for Comeback Player of the Year. I've mentioned this on Austin's Academy of Sports many times, but Tigers have a few potential candidates for Comeback Player of the Year award in the American League, and 3 of them right here: Javier Baez, Casey Mize, and Spencer Torkelson. I mean, Torkelson, his numbers has increased from last year to this year. Reading off some stats so far, we're not even to the halfway point yet. And Torkelson already has 20 home runs. He's doubled his home run mark from last year. He changed his mechanics in the offseason, kind of like Sweeney needs to do a little bit, and so far has. 20-10, 56 RBIs compared to 37 last season, and he's at 72 hits. And last season he only got 75 total. That's right. So Torkelson making a bid for Comeback Player of the Year. And it's just phenomenal to finally see that number one pick get back to the level that he was when he was in college at Arizona State. And then on the other hand, Casey Mize, who I'll dive into a little bit deeper, had a phenomenal start on Saturday Night Baseball on Fox, where most of the world was watching as well. And he delivered against the Guardians, which we will dive into a little bit later into this show. But that was the highlight game of that national series. They ended up losing that series. Game 2 they lost, and then Game 3 they lost 11-7. But Game 1, phenomenal 11-2 win. And they flew. Then came the Cleveland Guardians series. They flew to Cleveland, looking to kind of gain some momentum back, and boy did they. They ended up sweeping the Guardians, inevitably ending the Guardians season with that sweep. They are now 40-48, 8 games below. Coming into that series, the Guardians have lost 7 in a row, and did they end up winning another game? I don't know. The Tigers wouldn't let them win another game. They swept them, brought out the brooms, and now they've lost 10 in a row, depending on when you're listening to this, but 10 games in a row. Guardians are spiraling downhill, while the Tigers are spiraling uphill, and which brings me to my point. I think with the Tigers' schedule coming up, they're just going to keep reloading with the All-Star break and the trade deadline. They're 13.5 games above the Minnesota Twins, who they just beat a series with last weekend. And then they just swept a series over the Cleveland Guardians, who are 15.5 games back. 10 in a row they've lost. Not looking good for the Cleveland Guardians. But let's dive deep into the games, I guess you could say, for that series. Low-scoring series. Tigers only scored 3 runs through 2 games. So 18 innings, they only scored 3 runs, and that was Game 1 and 2. And then in Game 3, they only scored 1 run, and that was in the 9th inning, and then they came back in the 10th inning to win that 7-2 game on Sunday afternoon. But Friday night, got the 2-1 win. All they needed was 2 solo home runs from McKinstry and Perez. By the way, Zach McKinstry, snub for the All-Star game. He's one of the best players, not even on this team, but like in MLB. I believe his WAR, wins above replacement, which is what advanced metrics kind of are measured by. He's like 28th in baseball, all of MLB in WAR. And his game-winning home run in the 4th inning on Friday night gave him another, I guess, bonus to get to that All-Star game. He will get to the All-Star game if an injury happens to a player that is currently on the roster, the All-Star roster in the American League. So kind of want to hope for an injury if you're a McKinstry fan or a Tigers fan, because you want to see as many of your players, your team's players, go to the All-Star game, and McKinstry should be one of them. 2-1 win. McKinstry gets the game-winning solo home run, and Reese Olson, that's all that he needed. He gave up 1 run. It was a solo home run, and that was his first start back from injury from, I don't know, the end of May, early June. He's had a few rehab starts in Toledo, and A.J. Hinch finally, let's give him back to the MLB. 4 1/3 innings, 1 earned run, 6 hits, 3 strikeouts, only 89 pitches, but you're kind of easing him back into action. So he'll pitch probably again later in this week. But his one thing that Hinch wanted to see worked on was his changeup. And that seemed to work. I mean, it has to work. That pitch, the changeup, is the one he relies on, his bread and butter pitch, besides his fastball. And he relies on it 25% of the time. So, like I said, it has to work, and it looked like it did. So moving on to Saturday night, 1-0 win for the Tigers. So secured that series win on Saturday night. Torkelson provided the spark and the only run of that game for both teams. A solo shot. And like I said, comeback player of the year potentially for Spencer Torkelson. already went through his numbers. I mean, doubling his home run total, and he's not stopping. He could be in the home run derby if he really wanted to, but I don't think he is. And just a phenomenal player to watch when he's hot. And when he's smoking the balls to all parts of the field, he's just, like I said, fun to watch. 1-0 win for Saturday night's game. And Casey Mize, 7 innings of beautiful ball, 4 hits, only 2 walks, which is, you could lose the command a little bit, but the good thing is he got out of trouble when needed, and 4 strikeouts. He passed the century mark in pitches at 102, and he relied on his splitter a lot, kind of opposite of Reese Olson, who relies on his changeup. Casey Mize has a nasty splitter that kind of like dives down like a 12-6 curveball and goes from one point of the advantage point to the home plate and then floats to the other part. It's just a nasty splitter that Casey Mize has kind of revolutionized with his pitching arsenal. And that was just phenomenal sight to see on Saturday Night Baseball as well. So 1-0 win, already a series win for the Tigers. Now, if you're a Tigers players, are you stopping there? Heck no, you're not. You're going for that series sweep, and they've gotten a lot of them in this season. So when Sunday night or Sunday afternoon, Skubal back on the mound. So Skubal Sunday, back-to-back Sundays, and he didn't disappoint either. He followed up that Casey Mize performance with another 7 innings. I believe he went, let me find it here, 7 innings, 3 hits, no walks, and 10 strikeouts. He was on a short leash because the Tigers offense couldn't get him any runs. And so he had to hand it over to the bullpen. But it was like a classic 2024 Tigers game. They wear down the Guardians hitters and pitchers throughout the game. And then in that 9th inning, Zach McKinstry starts it all off. Well, it wasn't even McKinstry at the plate. It was Torkelson at the plate. He got hit by a pitch. The Tigers elected to put a more speedier guy on the base pass, which is understandably correct. Putting McKinstry at first, he stole second. Dingler advanced him over to third on a ground out. And then on a wild pitch, Emmanuel Clase goes behind through the wickets of Bo Naylor, and McKinstry scores that tying run in the 9th inning, making it 1-1, all knotted up. Tigers ended up going to extras, and that's when all hell broke loose pretty much. I mean, top of the 10th inning, Baez started it off with a single. Meadows, getting that courtesy runner at second base. He goes to third, and then Sweeney comes up, back from AAA, with a 3-run bomb. Take a listen here.
Out, the number 9 hitter, Trey Sweeney.
That pitch is labeled down the left field line by Sweeney toward the pole. That is fair! Trey Sweeney sends a sizzler out of here. It is 4-1 Tigers.
Yeah, that was Sweeney's 5th home run of the season. And hopefully that gets him on the right track for a potential long-term stay with the Tigers, but maybe not happening with Kerry Carpenter coming back probably at the end of July or middle of July, depending on how his hamstring heals up. But Vierling then doubled in a run, and Green put an exclamation point on it with a home run to left field as well. So Tigers get the series sweep, and now they're looking good. Best team in MLB right now. A little bit of help from the Houston Astros with the sweep over the Los Angeles Dodgers over the weekend as well. And now the Tigers come back home. Best record in MLB for a 6-game homestand starting tonight against the Tampa Bay Rays and the Seattle Mariners. So if you're looking to watch some good baseball, tune into the Detroit Tigers. They're one of the most fascinating teams to watch. And the trade deadline is looming. So pay attention to wherever you get your Tigers news and notes, because I believe, along with most fans, that they're going to make a big splash, sign somebody big, for the second half of the season and a playoff push potentially to the World Series, and get back to the World Series for the first time since 2013. praying and hoping for it. Tigers looking good so far. Best record in MLB. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Austin's Academy of Sports. Have a good night, everybody.